Now, James,
Okay, go ahead. I'm listening. I'm all ears.
2 weeks ago on this show,
Uh huh.
I reminded the listeners
Mm-hmm.
with Triple H, I was like, look, there's a lot of questions not being asked right now. There's a lot of selective memory going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of wishful thinking that I think, permeated the timeline when, they saw more than one, 3-star match on a show. Like, I think people like lost their goddamn minds personally. Um,
Yeah, it wasn't exactly like the 2019 first round of the tag team tournament on NXT. Exactly, was it?
like we saw a couple cool spots you could put in a GIF, and all of a sudden,
Yeah.
it,
What it wasn't quite like the first night of Raw after the brand split in 2016. It wasn't exactly like the first time they were in Atlanta or Duluth, Georgia for Dynamite. It wasn't exactly like those. No, no. Okay.
um, but I reminded people that you see Triple H taking over, you think it's gonna be okay. We about to get maybe we're gonna look at the talent all different. Maybe it's gonna be this thing, of all the all the favorites getting pushed. And I was like, look, man, Karrion Kross was somebody that Triple H pushed the fuck out of, and quite frankly, killed the brand, killed the
brand's
brand,
demise. Yep.
killed the brand with it.
Yep.
I was like, there could be some of that in there too. And lo and behold, Karrion Kross is back. Excuse me, new WWE main event talent. Karrion Kross is back immediately. And it's almost like, hold on, maybe the war isn't with TK for Triple H. Maybe this is like, I'm gonna make this work. While you said it wouldn't, Vince. And I saw this whole setup. I caught the clip, and they have Drew McIntyre looking around while music's playing. Then he literally does the same debut as Samoa Joe on the main roster, where he's, jumps out of nowhere on the side and starts beating, Seth Rollins' ass or whatever. It's the same shit. He's bashing Drew McIntyre's head, throwing horrible punches. He's bashing his head into the steel steps. He's throwing horrible punches that the camera's like, just rushing to cut away from. He's back with a head full of hair. He is not wearing the bondage uniform that Vince McMahon had him in. He
Just like a member of Demolition and shit.
Yes, he has his hot woman in his leather jacket. Does that sound familiar, James? And Roman Reigns is standing there just looking at this, and we had heard the rumbles that WWE was interested in Kross. Kross earlier that week competed in the undercard of Ric Flair's last match against.
Can I stop there?
Sure thing.
So, Rich, as I told you last week, I watched 3 matches from Ric Flair's last match, that particular show. I watched the 4-way match with Takeshita and Angels and Gresham, and I also watched the Lucha 4-way that had Laredo and Black Taurus and Phoenix and Bandito. And I also watched that match. I went out of my way to watch that match to see if maybe he's picked something up, maybe he's better, whatever. And it was a snooze fest. It was a snooze fest in the same way that his matches are always snooze fest. He's a big dude that hits hard, relatively hard, and suplex people around, and no one ever gives a fuck. And it makes it it's mystifying how somebody can he's the only person I can think of that's that size, wrestles that style, and doesn't get any reaction from the most regular fan bases. It's so weird. It's and obviously, I talk about his character and the lack thereof, and it's all substance, or all flash and no substance. It's all sizzle, no steak. And he's very much like a Zack Snyder comic book superhero movie, where it's all the stylized things that look cool, but like none of the things that actually tie together, and none of the things that make sense, and none of the things that actually show like the real heart in general, and for a full motion picture to make the thing fully crack. It's just like cool snapshots, right? Like Karrion Kross as like an Instagram, like all his pictures of him doing dark looking shit, and you know, the girl in the car when he's NXT, and the jacket and the muscles, and you know, the take fist, and all of that kind of stuff, and the gear and the suplex, like that stuff looks cool like on an Instagram
It should
like
all
profile.
work in theory.
Right. But once you press play on all of it, it's just like, oh, these are just things. And like, there's a person that clearly knows, like, they looked around and watches certain wrestling, and like, he understands that things are cool, but doesn't understand why they are cool. He seems like that person, right? Like, he seems like he's the words that I'm trying to think of, like, he's not a chef, he's a baker. There's nothing wrong with being bakers, but like, bakers only know, like, that's like the Kirk Cousins equation of like quarterbacking. He knows all the answers. He knows where to go with the ball. But if anything breaks down, he has to improvise or rely on like innate skill. It kind of falls apart. That's Karrion Kross.
Yeah.
In general.
And I think he was absolutely sabotaged the first time.
He was.
He was in WWE. So I don't want to hold that necessarily against him, but it was amazing that they thought that little of him to do that to him.
Especially at that size in this era.
Right. Lothario Negro says he's cosplaying Strong Style. Black
Right.
Sabre Jr. Cross is a wrestling IG thought.
Whoa. So like, to take on from that, as far as he's cosplaying Strong Style, he absolutely is. And like, when we were in NXT, for example, when he had that one match where he's a champion, and then like it's a 5-way, and it's like I think it's like Balor and Dunn and Gargano and O'Reilly's in there, and Gargano's in there, and Dunn's in there, and Cole's in there. And it's like, you watch NXT for 2-3 years, and you're like, wow, like the dude that's 6'1", 6'2", 230-ish or whatever else is like the softest guy, is like the softest style or guy in here. Everybody works different than him. That's crazy. All these other guys like
5'10",
middleweights to cruiserweights too high. Middleweights to super middleweights. Like what? How does that make any sense?
Yeah. But this is Triple H. He's a Triple H project from the day one. Apparently, they kept in constant contact, and Triple H is gonna go ahead and give him the run, because like
apparently it seems that way.
They've mentioned this man possibly being around the championship, which is mind-boggling. So while people were ready to kiss Triple H in the mouth, like he immediately does this and then sends me into hysterics on a timeline,
right? Because there's no way to have any faith that, like, and I think we both would agree on this. Karrion Kross having a job on the main roster of WWE, like, that makes sense. He should be there. The problem is, when it comes to is the level that he's going to be slotted at is the problem. Like, given the way he was pushed in NXT, there's no reason to expect that Triple H, the same booker that's looking around at the same size guys, and also the same like problems with staleness, would not try to push this dude at a main event level, which is where this dude does not belong. And that's the issue. If he was going to be a mid-carder or somebody that's going to be on pay-per-view, I don't think we really have a problem. The problem is the fear that, like, you look around and you're like, okay,
like, doesn't Walter work here?
Right. And that was the thing, right? Especially when he was the NXT champion. It's like, okay, so Walter's the NXT champion, this god of a champion. Keith Lee was just the newly crowned NXT champion, and like, it sucks that it seems like he's going to be moved on to the main roster, but we didn't know how they were going to fuck him up or whatever else. But whatever.
Well, they were throwing fireballs in his face in NXT that came out of books and shit.
Yeah.
So
yeah. But also continue. It's like, and they also had Dijak at the same time too, and it was like, wait a second. So we got Donovan Dijakovic, we got Keith Lee, we got Walter, and we got Karrion Kross. And the guy that gets pushed is Karrion Kross.
Pushed like a god. pushed like God Almighty himself. Remember what he did to Ciampa?
Yeah, beat the shit out of Ciampa. He squashed him in like 7 minutes or something like that. Or not 7 minutes, but not squash in 7 minutes only, but like he got dominated for 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like and it was, like they tried to make him like a pocket Brock Lesnar type figure, but like whether there was going to be a crowd there or not, no one was going to buy it. Like the dude just he's I don't know what exactly he's missing where his matches don't pop, but I can't quite put my finger on it. It seems like he knows what to do at times, but doesn't pop. Like, and we'll talk about this with somebody that I think is a high floor, low ceiling person later in the show. But it's the same thing with like, you know where to be, all the tricks, or a number of the tricks to make things work. You do the things that a lot of people like or love, yet no one actually likes or loves you.
It's amazing how that works.
Maybe not to the extent for the second person we're going to get to later, but for Kross, definitely is the case. And it also didn't help, it's politics, it's him being QAnon and him also like being anti-vaxxer and all that kind of stuff. So that also plays too. But I'm putting that to the side for now,
right?
For now, just as a clear evaluation of one's talent and and where he could be in the pecking order. Given his ability and skill level and size and what he could bring to the table, like a lot of people did, rightfully talk about how like his presentation was fucked up from day one on the main roster. But it's like, so you mean to tell me you think everything would have been like OBKB if like he just had like Scarlett with him? No.
It's like they tried to dress this man like he was, living a wild sex lifestyle. Like, I don't think it was gonna work.
Were they even doing that? I thought he had a hot woman around him, and that was it. Like, there was nothing to the dude.
Yeah, it was like, or
even
in NXT. Yeah, in
even
NXT.
For NXT, which keeps a scaled down profile on a lot of like the spooky stuff, right? Like, you look at the Wyatts NXT compared to the Wyatts in WWE, and like, I don't know what Vince and Bray decided to do, but that's where they went with it. It was not that in NXT from what I recall, right? So, just thinking of the idea of like him and Scarlett or whatever else, and like you can come up with some of the references to the occult or him being like one of those spooky supernatural type people that have some elements of it at least, right? Or at least for mind games. Fine, whatever. Once it got to the main roster, you could play into all that kind of stuff, and like Vince was like, "No, we don't want that." And they also wanted Scarlett to be a wrestler, and she had an injury, she had that taken care of, and that sucks for her, but it also sucks for him. But like them together, I never saw Scarlett when I was in NXT thinking like that added to his total thing or whatever else in the way that like other people did. So like for me, it's like whether she was there or not, it wasn't gonna matter. Like the bell's gonna ring and what we got in.
Yeah, and he was substandard conditions in his main events. In NXT, where he's surrounded by nothing but good workers, I shudder to